Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 62 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud, and topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. To catch updates about the podcast or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice. Listed in the description below. Beat. I'm your host, GM, and the overseer of Podcast of Five Rings Obsidian. No, I don't have beat written down in the copy. I just wanted to say that finally. We've got the Dark Fortune Duelist, Meta, the prodigal son.
I return.
He's back from Indianapolis.
I return to bring you the good
with all
word.
my jelly donuts, because I didn't get to go.
I'm going to bring you the good word.
Are they jelly donuts or are they actually onigiri?
Depending, well, it all
That's
depends
what
on
you should have talked about. The all-time worst. That's it. Pocket that. The all-time worst localizations for an anime.
I was gonna say that really depends on who's creating my localization. So
I love these jelly donuts.
holding like a rice ball in it.
Yeah. Or what was it? Dumplings in Xenoblade. We were talking about this last week, I think, or a few weeks ago. Mal.
Yes. Dumplings.
Yes, exactly.
Dumplings and they call it burgers.
Yeah. We got
It was onigiri, but they translated it to dumplings.
For some reason, it's like it's obviously
Nintendo
a rice
Europe.
ball. Like this isn't 1995. You don't have to localize it like that anymore.
But I'm sorry. What is so complex about understanding the words rice ball? What about that word makes people think they're going to
What? What's a rice ball? That's just a bizarre
I think
thing.
a lot of people asked, is why did they feel the need? Who thought it was necessary to change it from who wants this rice ball to
I understand
who wants this
saying-
cheeseburger?
I understand to say don't say onigiri and call it rice ball, but not turn onigiri into jelly donut
Yeah.
cheeseburgers.
I've got
Please
this.
put this
I'm gonna
together.
eat this onigiri in my kawaii nakamas.
Shank, shank, shank.
The wall that will not fall, Tetsuo, and the resident wildcard Mal. We're all here. We're all ready.
The whole gang's back.
The boys are back in town.
Get
The
the
boy.
band back together again.
Yeah.
Hey, so for some reason I thought of all of us playing Monster Hunter on PC. I was like, why would we do that? We just have it for PS4. I was like, so never mind.
Don't joke about that.
Overcooked cheese out.
I am getting Monster Hunter World for PC.
I'm going to eventually.
There's some
I
friends that,
probably won't.
there are some friends who really wanted to play the game,
Yeah.
and I said I would play with them, but they only have PC. So
It's the
congratulations, Capcom! You're getting
Yeah.
twice the money
The
from
my
best
me.
new
roommate
release
wants to play it.
Of the year for Steam. Almost 250,000 concurrent players.
God,
And it
it's
just
insane.
released 2 days ago.
No,
Or was
it
it
actually
yesterday?
I think it was yesterday, but I don't think it was actually fully
Weird.
released until today.
Like
You could download it, but I don't think you could actually play it.
Oh,
until
gotcha.
today.
Gotcha. Early install or whatever you call it.
Yeah, I remember. I'd have to look it up.
Preload. You can do that with most games now.
Yeah,
Preload them.
it's nice. It's nice that people do that.
Yeah, so you can just play it right at midnight.
Yeah.
You don't have to go, I gotta wait like half an hour for it to download.
Man,
Sit here and twiddle my thumbs.
gotta wait forever.
Alright, well since we're such busy people with busy lives,
Obviously.
why don't we get on to our topics, huh? I think
Sure.
Mal has a pretty exciting one here for us. So what do you got?
well, a week ago, as time of recording, on
The Great Rage began on the place known as the Pathfinder subreddit.
forums mostly.
God.
Paizo forums. Yeah, Pathfinder 2nd edition dropped. And
Well, like
it
the
was-
playtest for it, right? It's not like
Just the
the
Yeah.
playtest. Yeah.
Yeah, just the playtest. And it was met with a lot of
cheers and
Salt.
jeers, or mostly
I don't-
jeers.
It happens. I mean,
at least on the forums, the Paizo forums themselves are
It's really-
just flooded with salty posts.
it's really weird too because it came out and they specifically stated that these are the base rules, but they are opening up playtest because the first version of Pathfinder was made with people's input and they wanted to do another one that's made with people's input
Right.
again. So
And
Anderson-
some people are like, this is so bad, I'm going to stop playing altogether.
I'm never gonna
Yeah.
pick up an
I'm never gonna play another RPG
That-
ever
I'll
again.
never. I'm so
Never
scarred.
again.
I'm so
Yes, that was
scarred.
basically someone's post. It was like, well, this is the edition that makes me stop playing full casters, I guess, and I might stop playing RPGs altogether. It's like,
What? That is like
That is
that's like
incredibly
comment of
dramatic.
the year.
I just can't get
I
over it.
love
I
that.
can't
That's when you just
Shattered.
drop a copy of L5R there and say, here you go. You can't play full caster anyway, so there you go.
So
Hey,
that is someone so shattered over something so small.
Right.
they love their freaking witch in Pathfinder 1E. They just they can't be that witch anymore. At least right now. And
So
their
they
casting
tried
rules are
to-
changed.
They've tried to, shrink the gap between marshals and casters.
Obviously.
Always a
And
good
they've
thing,
also
by the way.
just made the numbers of smaller of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So like spells like magic armor starts off with just a +1 to AC instead of the +4. I think it was.
They dropped a
before, so-
lot.
But yeah, that's not just one spell being nerfed. It's more indicative of the design choices.
Yeah.
So yeah. So running
It's,
through character creation, I guess.
can I just say on character
yeah.
creation real fast? And you might get into it later on, but I gotta admit, like looking at a character and making a character on a character sheet, can both be intimidating or simple. I don't know how.
Yeah,
I don't know how
depending
to
on
feel
how you're
about it.
coming at it.
Yeah, some of those spots, I feel like the design, it's very busy. I will say that. But I mean, that's not really any different from, I guess,
A normal one.
normal one. I think it's just the design change and the shift and like where you're supposed to be focusing on and like what direction you should be working on it and coming from. I don't want to say it has been really improved over Pathfinder 1, and I was kind of hoping for that a little bit. I was kind of hoping that like when you're making your character, you go through these steps, this first, then this. And I was kind of hoping like that would be reflected in the new character sheet, and it doesn't really feel like that's fully reflected. Because you're still bouncing.
I tangentially, I feel like that's maybe a little bit more of a thing with mid to high crunch systems in general. Maybe that's just me.
I mean, I don't know.
I think that's one of the reasons
could
why I
see
tend
it.
to like a lower crunch at times. It's just that character sheets are much more cleaner, much nicer.
I do think this one is cleaner. I mean,
Isn't it
for
a
one- it's a lot-
horizontal sheet?
Yeah, and I think they cut they cut skills in like half. So like just stuff like that gives them more like basically they were able to just make the things bigger. Like they just blow up the text and stuff. So I think it still kind of looks busy, but it's just so that you get like bigger
It's like
fonts
a-
and whatnot.
It's like a cleaner busy, if that makes any sense.
I could see that. I could see that.
Busy and clean is the way I'm feeling tonight.
Oh god.
It's hard to make this roll. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Disappointing
Anyway.
jobs.
So you start off with choosing your ancestry, which is what they
Very,
changed
very
race to.
Starfinder like,
I-
basically, wasn't it? Don't
I
they
don't
make the
understand why
races a
they
lot
changed
more
it.
like Starfinder? I skimmed over it like a week ago, so
You
no.
do get health from your chosen race.
Yeah, that is like Starfinder.
that is from Starfinder. Yeah.
As opposed to your class.
Well, you get it from your
For
class.
first
too.
level. First level health comes
Oh, got it.
as well as 3 stats now, I believe. For most.
For most, yes. So like a dwarf will get an ability boost, which is what they just call the generic, ability boost.
Yeah.
A
Pretty
dwarf
self-explanatory.
gets Constitution, Wisdom, and then a free one that can't go to those two, and then an ability flaw in Charisma. So the flaw is -2, the boost is +2, unless
Stinky
so,
dwarves.
your abilities can't start at over 18,
Yep.
and then every ability boost after 18 is only a +1 instead of a +2.
That's also like Starfinder, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But Starfinder might be like a
I can't
16.
remember.
I will admit that's actually kind of nice because it means that like being on a 17 is not as detrimental as it was in older edition where you had like
Yeah.
where being on a 17 like really felt like a step backwards just to jump it up to 18, and then being on 18 didn't feel pointless as well either because once you're on 18 you just put 4 points into it and like then put your last ability up something because otherwise you're just getting nothing. So
Yeah, this was just, I think, just to help keep numbers smaller again, like not starting at over 18. They
will-
definitely took some design ideas from 5th edition D&D.
yeah, I was just about to say that. Yes,
Yeah.
there's a lot.
That's what I was
that feels like
thinking.
it comes from 5th.
Though the layout, some people have said, reminds them a lot of 4th edition, which is
Yeah, the
also
feats
a
and
lot
stuff.
of fault. Even just the layout of the book, like the way they
Yes.
word the feats and stuff, gives a lot of people 4th edition flashbacks.
It
which
does
I think
look
is
like
more
4th edition.
Might be more detrimental to them. Like,
It's-
and that's just a layout choice.
There's like just going through, and I only had a chance. Actually, I should just grab the book since I actually have a physical playtest version of it.
Huh.
Yeah, I actually went and was an idiot and spent the money.
Well, it's only like $20, isn't it?
Depend. Well, I mean, if you get the soft cover, that is the one I would say.
Oh, they had
get
a
the soft
hardcover option.
They had a hardcover and they had a collector's edition hardcover.
Okay,
Did
yeah,
you get the
that's-
collector's edition
No,
hardcover?
God, no.
Okay.
no.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah.
Give me a second here. I'll be right back.
All right, we'll stretch for time.
Stretch for time.
One Mississippi.
Ba-na, dun, dun, da, 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 da. No, go on.
Where was I? So yes, you choose. Also, they don't have like half elf is not something you choose as a standalone. You
Yeah, it's
choose
like a human
human.
subrace, isn't it?
So yeah, all of them get ancestral feats now because like you said with the feats thing
Yeah.
is there's a lot of
Yeah,
different
half elf is a feat now, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, you choose that, and then you get to choose like two from two options, and then you can going forward you can take more half elf feats or whatever basically.
Yeah. And half orc is
Interesting.
as well, I believe.
Yes, half elf and half orc are humans, and then you go into the heritage or the ancestry feat.
I like that. At least conceptually, I really like that.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
does
it's
give
fine.
them the option to do that with like, because as the sorcerer in Pathfinder points out, anything can have just about any bloodline. So like they could have like, human with halfling ancestry feats or something, or
Yeah.
even a halfling with elf's ancestry feats if they wanted to. It opens that up because why are there only two kinds of half races that are both half human?
Because humans are the only ones that have the fertility to be able to produce living offspring.
But only
It's a-
with those
it's a-
two.
It's a well-known fact that in almost, I think in 3.5 or whatever it was, humans can almost mate with anything, and dragons could mate with everything.
Yeah,
My
dragons. Well,
understanding
dragons.
of Star
use
Trek very
shapeshifting.
much.
It was really weird.
The rabbits of D&D.
They pretty much were, yeah. Humans could mate with just generally about anything and have an offspring with it. It's just that I think the only ones that they really popularized were half orc, half elf.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah, and then ancestry feats. Some people think does it? So I do know one constant criticism is that so ancestries, and then we'll get to them, but skill feats just feel kind of. You get them throughout leveling all the way to 20, but at higher levels they feel kind of pointless.
Really, why is that?
Well, they're not super awesome. That's probably
Okay.
Right, picking up proficiency in a weapon at level 9 is not something you really
Oh,
care
okay.
about.
Gotcha.
Yeah, like
Which I mean you probably wouldn't do, but
I mean, just
most
give
of the
it-
feats have a level 1 all of the elf feats
Yes.
except one are all level 1 prereqs, and the only other one is a level 5 prereq.
Yeah, so they're lower power scale stuff.
Right. So when you're picking him at level 15 or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's probably something
eh.
they should address when they
And
alter the
again,
rules.
this is just the playtest, and they can always add more later. But
Exactly.
So,
That's
I mean,
why
that's
it's not world ending, which is why it's so confusing that people are
to
reacting
give
like
it
that.
to give an example, like why it's kind of a frustrating thing is that at first level you get one, and then you get one every 4 levels after. So you're gonna have essentially a cap, quote unquote cap. If you play 20, then it's not. But you would get 5 of them altogether. But they do stuff like this, where you gain like a +1 circumstance bonus, the skill text in which you're untrained. Or you gain a +2 circumstance bonus on your check when you use the aid reaction or assist action. They're just very small, and like once you get to level 17,
But meta, I
having
like
that
jack of all
+2
trades.
having that +2 like aid assist is just like, okay, great, I guess.
Yeah. So, I mean, the playtest book is over 400 pages long.
Yes,
And
it's
they
bloody thick.
It's massive.
So yeah, so Pathfinder First Edition has 10 years worth of content, and people want all of this stuff that they could do in First Edition, but you can't put that much stuff in a core book.
No.
No.
They're already not sure if they can how much more they can add to what they already have, like in the playtest. They're wondering, like, the part of the playtest to see what they can cut and what they might want to
They
add.
could add the megas.
Probably not.
What's really interesting, actually, kind of you're talking about this from the ability boost, and I'm jumping back a little bit, is that like all the races now have like 2 fixed ability boosts, then a free one, and then a flaw, except humans, which just have 2 free ones. But and I mean, you'll get into this later, but then there's other stuff that you get from like background, which again is very
Next
5th
up
edition.
is backgrounds, which is very 5th edition. It's like, criminal background. It gives you 2 more ability boosts, and one must be Dex or Intelligence, and the other one is a free. And then you also get a skill feat.
And
you get the
So how
experience,
does
one more skill feat.
how does your pre-stat ability scores work? Is it point-based, rolling?
You
I
start
believe
out
they
at 10,
actually-
and then you add all of the ability boosts
All right,
and
cool.
whatnot.
Gotcha.
Or you can roll. They do have the
Yeah, they
optional,
do. They actually give
you know,
that as
thing
one
like
of the-
rolling. But
Yep.
again, they say you're not supposed to start with over 18.
Mm-hmm.
Because you roll and then add boosts.
Yep.
Yep. They give you
Which-
the
Which they said, I think, is, rolling will lead to higher stats.
Yeah.
Most likely. Of course, you could always disregard it, but that basically they're balancing around the smaller numbers.
Got it.
I also
Yep.
kind of find it a little bit disappointing. I don't know if you guys talked about it or not, but half elves and half orcs are like a feat underneath.
Yes, we were mostly in favor of that, or
Yeah.
at least thought it was an interesting
It's fine.
idea.
I'm not sure I'm okay with that because that kind of gyps you out of something just to be a race that you want to.
Well, you get, by choosing half elf, you then choose like 2 other things, so you're not really losing out on anything. Like you get more than just choosing half elf and being done with it.
Anything,
no,
maybe
you have-
it's needlessly complicated, but
You actually have to take a feat to be a half elf or a half
Right,
orc.
but when you choose the half elf feat, and then as
you
part of that,
as
you
per
get the
gain
elf
the bo-
trait and
Yeah.
select 2 of the following benefits.
Yeah. Okay, I see what you're saying. I don't know. That feels weird.
it's weird. It's like a
That's like
interesting
weird.
design choice.
It's like it just, I don't know. It kind of feels weird to do it that way because then if you want to really be the full half elf, you have to take it again, which kind of sucks. Again, it's an investment to being what your race should be.
But it's kind of getting around to the whole, like, what is it, racial points or whatever, like when you start looking into all of the different races you can be and having to calculate whether or not you have to have a level adjustment, etc., etc. It kind of balances that out a little bit.
Sort of, but half elf and half orc never had them as well.
No, I know. It's just, I could see it being then expanded upon with later things to
Well,
make
I
it
do
make
know-
more sense.
I do know some people might also be a little bit miffed at it because of the ability boosts. You still have to follow the human ability.
Well, half elves and at least in Pathfinder, half elves and half orcs. Oh wait, no, I might be thinking of D&D 5th edition. Use
let me
the
check.
same as humans. I can't remember.
Let me see.
They're different.
Are
I
they?
think they've
Half
raised-
elves and 5e get I think
Yeah.
a free +1 and +2 to charisma.
Oh, that's right. It is in Path.
And
Pathfinder,
orcs
half
are
elves,
strength and con.
No, half elves got a +2 bonus to any one ability score of their choice to
Yeah,
represent. their
that's so
nature.
that's like humans.
That was Pathfinder. So that is actually the same.
Yeah,
Okay.
they use the same ability boost as humans. Then
Okay. Then it's D&D
that has them
3.5
separate.
that has
Yeah.
them separate. Yeah. Man, that tells you how close these games are.
This game, once you get into like the actual rules as well, the game does not like it's under the same license as third edition D&D, but it does not necessarily feel like that. A lot
Doesn't
of
look
people
anything
were
like
like
it.
basically wanted a 1.5 version of Pathfinder and not the full second edition.
Like, it's kind of funny is that like you say that, and as I'm thinking about it, that's kind of what it would have been nice. It would have been a little bit nice. Because I know a lot of like our gaming group at home, we all really enjoy Pathfinder 1.0. Yeah, it's essentially 3.75.
Right.
But we actually enjoy that. I think the only thing we've all kind of agreed is that we kind of just wish the gap between melee and spellcasting was just shortened a bit, or like made more even. Ideally equal. But
I think
We
that's
can-
a wish of mine for like any system though. Like that.
Seems
Yeah,
like every
well-
system has that problem.
yeah, so I mean
Yeah.
that's the dream, but not
Well,
to
it's
pull
hard
off.
when you have someone that can break reality. Like,
Yeah,
how do you
exactly.
like?
How do you
make
explain
the person
why?
who can swing a sword? on
Wish,
Yeah.
wish. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's kind of like we kind of liked the complexity and like the expansion on those things in 1.0. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy it too, but I think from a business standpoint, it
Yes.
makes sense to simplify things because they
Yes.
lost a lot of
Business.
business to fifth edition.
Mhm.
And I've seen it firsthand of people who see all the numbers and kind of check out of
Yeah.
Pathfinder.
I have seen that too, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate because
I'm a little like that.
I was gonna
Right.
say I am definitely like I prefer lighter crunch if I have the option.
God, I'm the opposite.
But
aspect.
I also
I
didn't play
really-
3.5, so
really
I'm not
love-
like used to that.
I really love the crunchiness. I like my sandwich to be very meaty.
Crunchy peanut butter. Matt is a crunchy peanut butter guy.
I
I'm
like
smooth.
the
I love my
crunch.
smooth.
Actually, that's not true. I love smooth peanut butter. I actually don't like.
Dang
crunchy
it, my
peanut
metaphor
butter.
doesn't work. It's ruined.
I basically like anything with rules about on par with Fate and up is what I go towards. Like
yeah.
anything with
Like-
less rules than Fate, I'm sort of checking out.
With-
Yeah, I can't stand it if it like if it's too rules light, then you just have
Yeah,
like
the
anarchy at table.
Cthulhu stuff was fun, but it's not something I'd want to run in a long-term game.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely like a one
lighter-
shot. Yeah.
The lighter rules are, the better they are for a beer and pretzels one shot. I feel like personally.
I would agree. I will say that, like, kind of looking through the book and whatnot, I do like that their idea was to simplify, but try to still focus on what is Pathfinder and not be fifth edition.
Right.
It's just
a
a
little
little bit
Yeah.
frustrating.
Or
It's-
overly
it's
simplify
still
the fourth
different.
edition
Yeah.
levels of
Yeah.
That's fourth edition made them on equal footing, but they made everyone on equal footing in that
Yeah.
you were almost playing the same character. Like
Yeah.
there were like
Yeah.
4 archetypes
Yeah.
almost.
You literally had roles. You were playing like
Right, and all the roles almost
Which I
played
like, kind
almost the
of,
same.
but
you MMO lover. You.
yeah.
I-
I love how it felt like a MMO, like combat
Yeah.
was. I think
I
the
will-
combat was really
I think-
good in that game.
I think my thing was because again, melee people felt like they could at least be on par with magic casters. Like
Right.
4E
Problem was
fodder,
that
baby.
Yeah. The problem is that
Also,
everybody was the same.
Also, I think a fourth edition's flaw was a layout as flaw as well. Was just like
I hate the
loading made it-
books.
came out as very like
yeah.
scientifically or whatever. It's all like
Yeah.
this plus this is like without any like
With
flavorful
formulas
description
and
of
stuff built
Yeah.
into the.
Yeah, they
damage
actually had
formulas.
formulas. I thought that was really weird. I'm like, why am I feel like I'm looking at like an algebraic
And
equation here?
symbols. I'm like, hey, let me read my math book here.
Pulling back to my calculus days. Oh no!
Plug in these matrices. No,
Graph
Uh,
the chart.
well, no, like I like that they're at least trying to do something different. Like really,
Yeah.
like otherwise, why kind of make a new edition? Honestly, you could just kind of put
Yeah,
out
the
updates.
biggest- Yeah, which they have been doing for a long time, and they have been losing players.
Yeah. So
The biggest change was that like the action economy is way different.
I love that idea. By the
Yeah,
way,
I've seen a lot of, at least a lot of positivity
Yeah.
towards the idea. of
in
it.
theory, I haven't
In-
played it yet. So
I absolutely agree with you in theory, and I've seen it because it actually came out in Pathfinder Unchained. They
Right.
actually,
Which
they
I
actually
saw some
put that
people talking
system out.
about is Pathfinder Unchained rules is your 1.5. It has a lot of variant rules, like
Does
getting
I
rid of
actually-
the certain magic items in favor of stuff, and
I actually really enjoy. I almost was tempted to talk to our group about saying like, would you guys like to just try this out for a little while? Because it would really be the 1.5, as you say, is like it opens up the action economy so that you can better balance around it. Because it actually does, because really what kills, I think, most melee is that their action economy is so shafted if they have to take a move action at all. Because then you're
Yeah.
completely denied all of your attacks but your highest
Yep.
one.
Yep.
But in that version, spellcasters can either burn their action, like essentially the majority of their actions, if not all, to cast a spell, and then maybe move as well.
Yeah. So I mean,
Oh.
this one kind of follows that as well. Is
Yeah.
everyone gets 3 actions, and that was the other big thing. Is there's like 7 types of actions or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of
That's
action
what
Pathfinder First
types.
Edition.
That's what confuses me a lot of the time with
It's
Pathfinder and
because when you break it down, there's four types of action. Well, 5, but here we go. You have a full round action, which is the only thing you do on your round. You have a standard action, which is a majority of things that would take a standard quote unquote amount of time. I don't know really what that means. You have a move action, something that's pretty quick and efficient, but would still take up a little bit of your turn. You have a swift/immediate action,
Right.
which is something that you can only do once on your turn, unless it's immediate, in which case you can do it anytime on anybody's turn. And then you have a free action, which you can do one of each freely, and it costs nothing against your normal set of actions.
Yeah.
That's a lot of actions to play with.
Yeah.
Yeah, 6 basically.
Yeah.
Whereas this, you have action and reaction,
Yep.
Yes.
and you get 3 actions and 1 reaction. I think I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, one reaction.
Which is the
Either
reaction
one
is not your turn. The action is your turn.
Yes.
So spells cost 2
2?
actions by default.
Yep.
Can cost more, but yeah, and
Which-
then attacks can be made at
One action each.
one action each basically.
I think it's a
And I-
minus
and you can
5
move and
for every
attack.
extra attack.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
more
by default.
attacks by default. But generally, I think like fighter has an ability where they can eventually get down to like -3 and then -6. It's so you have stuff like that that can affect it too.
Yeah. So yeah, the actions. Then there are they offer, a bunch of other actions like, shove or
Yeah.
whatnot to do as well on your turn.
Dual wielding.
Yep. Dual wielding is done through a feat primarily, I believe.
Rangers and
So-
fodders.
Classes.
It's weird that fodders are the only ones I saw. Matt might be able to correct me or you that had the opportunity attack.
Yeah, it's only a fighter
Yes,
thing.
that's only a fighter
Attacks
thing.
of
Attack of
opportunity is a fighter feature.
Yep, that is theirs and theirs alone. Which
I'm okay with this.
That actually,
I'm fine because
actually-
it makes fodders more interesting and
yes,
different.
it does.
Exactly.
I kind of like. It's
Also,
kinda
attacks
sucks
of
that-
opportunity, remembering what is and what isn't one is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. It's really because here's the trigger for the fighter attack of opportunity. A creature within your reach uses a manipulate action or a move action, makes a ranged attack, or leaves a square during your move action it's using.
Yeah, so like things, actions, or in feats and all that sort of thing, they all have their own tags. So
Yeah.
like you'll be looking at an action and it'll have a little square that also tells you the tags of that action, which is like
That
a
probably
manipulate.
needs to be cleaned up a little bit because when you start going into like the fighter feats and when you start looking at them, oh my god. There's
Yep.
like there's key terms on the right side of the page. I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Key terms right side of the page, and then like each action like fighter feat has terms stapled onto it. So you might
Yeah.
have like attack, fighter, press. What does press mean? It means when you're pressing the attack. But this is let's say a fighter open stance. What does open mean? This means you can open with it before your next strike. And then if it's a stance, it's something that's like a passive effect that happens.
Yeah,
So this
each-
totally sounds like a fighting game's setup for fighters.
It kind of
Like memorizing combos for,
gotta
Well,
get your heavy
each
punch in
class
there.
will have its own like tags on those things, and
Yeah.
I've definitely seen people criticize basically the layout of where to find what those mean. Like the alchemist
yeah.
has infusion the tag or
I can't remember
other
what it
stuff,
is like.
but
Yeah, like
yeah.
here.
so you have
there's,
to then go look up and
There's like in the fighter tag, like you have certain moves in here that are referenced with tags that aren't referenced in that book. So you have to go find where they are. Like on Intimidating Strike, you have the tag attack, but then you have attack and fighter, but then you have the tags fear, emotion, and mental. Those aren't in the key terms for fighter. So you have to go find out where they were originally, or if there's an area that just tells you all the key terms. And that kind of gets a little bit frustrating to have to search for that, like flipping between pages just to find a term so that you understand what it is.
Sounds like a job for the DM screen.
Yeah. So I feel like either they need to kind of like put them all in the front and just be like, this is all the terms fighter used. Like, even if it's been put there before, just do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Just so that you don't have to go like 15, 20 pages back to find out where the heck was it referenced the first time. That definitely could be cleaned up a lot.
Yeah, so all classes now, they have their their standard abilities like before, where you would get bravery as a fighter or whatever, and at a certain level. But now you also have class feats, which are feats only your class gets, which are things like power attack is now a fighter class feat, which doesn't stack to like every attack you make, but it's it's 2 actions, I believe, to activate it. And each class has their own like that.
Yeah, power attack burns up 2 attacks, but you deal 2 extra weapon damage die. Or if you're at level 10, and then 1 extra damage die if you're at level like 1 to 9. So.
Yeah, and then there are also skill feats and ancestral feats and generic feats.
Oui.
Which, they all get at different levels, but like your class will tell you when you get them. But I think
generics
most of those
are like Iron
standardized.
Will and stuff like that.
Yeah, there are very few standard or general.
It is. It's. I also kind of know. It's like I know they try to make it easier for the actions themselves. Like you have 3 actions, which ironically is kind of how I always viewed standard action and move action. Was that like you have a 3 action slot, but the standard action always takes 2, and the move is always taking 1. And it's nice that they kind of broke it down. It's just 3 actions, which really does help a lot of things, and I think is really wonderful. It just feels really frustrating that then you're like, oh, like when you look at the attack of opportunity, it's like that's an action, but wait, what kind of action are you performing with that 1 action? Are you performing a manipulate, a move? Is that a range attack action? Is it so on and so forth? It's like there's certain types of actions that could be done that meet certain criteria for other effects that might take place as a reaction to that, which doesn't really help in the long run, at least, or at least in the short term. I shouldn't say the long run, you'll understand everything. In the short term, it still makes it confusing. It's like, oh, wait, hold on a second. What kind of action is he using on it? Oh, he's manipulating something? Okay, then I can attack of opportunity. That kind of thing. So,
yeah, it could slow things down at first.
Yeah. So that's unfortunate because it does put tags on an action for criteria to meet.
But in not having the book in front of me, how much are these tags like intuitive? Like how intuitive do they feel?
Some of them
depends.
Depends.
Like the Alchemist has almost no tags, and the only one that really shows up in that like the feat section is like additive.
Yeah.
So it's something you added.
But like
it's like I keep hearing manipulate, and I'm like, so anytime you are manipulating an item, it should be a manipulate action.
Yeah. I mean, like in the fighter one for the key terms, open and press are very not intuitive. Stance kind of makes sense. It's like, okay, it's a stance effect, but you still have to understand like how does that activate or work?
Yeah.
And then the only one that I think it's truly intuitive is enhancement, or it's just doing something extra to your strike or to your damage roll for that. So,
Gotcha.
But at the same time, it doesn't like. But then at the same time, you would think that. But then enhancement is not a tag on power attack, which quite literally enhances the damage you do on.
Yeah, that's
attack.
weird.
So,
well, it's not a standard attack because it's its own thing.
Yeah,
I assume additives go like affect a standard like a 1 action attack. Power attack actually takes 2 actions.
It just says enhancements are additional effects applied to a strike. Yeah, enhancements are just additional effects applied to a strike, so it doesn't care. Like, I mean, power attack is like make a melee strike. It gains the following enhancement. It even says it in the. That's actually kind of funny. It says it right in its own text. It gains the following.
Then that could just be something they missed.
Yeah,
There's been some things they've already even errated. Like we missed these things.
Yeah,
there was only 3, I think, but.
I think it doesn't even look like it's a tag for anything. It looks like it's actually utilized in the text, which then I feel like defeats the purpose of the enhancement thing. Yeah. But I don't know. They could be just trying to cover the bases. Yeah.
Again, layout definitely
Yeah.
probably needs work in this.
I mean, yeah, I kind of feel like we're beating a dead horse at this point.
Also, the classes definitely need some balancing. I think clerics and druids come out on top, which is reminiscent of
Yep.
Pathfinder
3.0.
First Edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, clerics and
And
3.5 was like
alchemists
that
and
too,
rangers,
wasn't
I think, are probably at the bottom. I've seen
Oof.
alchemist seems real bad. They added a new
Yeah,
resource pool called
that's why.
resonance.
Which I like the idea behind as well.
Yeah, you have to use resonance to activate magic items, or like you commit one resonance to like make sure you can use your magic sword for the day, or you have to spend one resonance point just to use a potion.
Yeah.
It's like a little spark that just kind of makes magic work in items.
And it's cool on some items because you invest the resonance point to use the item, but it also has an additional effect that you can spend your resonance, like extra resonance points on for some of them. Like the Giant's Belt, one of the belts that enhance your strength or con, it would have like another effect you can activate for resonance point where it would give you like temporary hit points and like a healing effect every round. That I just thought was cool. It's just more like choices for you to do mid combat. Like, what do I spend these points on?
I also kind of like the whole like I think that you start then to it's not as much of an arms race if you have to
Right.
commit your resonance.
I
points.
believe is also main point was to
Oh, the
cut down
purpose.
on the need, like in 3.x games, of buying a ton of magic items,
Right.
which
What's-
5th edition also cut down on with attunement.
Yeah.
They also cut down on it looks like spells per day as well.
Yes.
Like
Well-
first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Normally they would cap out at like 6 for most, like rank 9 spellcasters.
4
They're all
for
capped.
wizards, and then 6 for sorcerers, I think. But yeah, and it's now
Clerics
just
are
capped
3.
at 3 for all across the board.
Yeah.
Though I think wizards can get an extra if they do the school, but they can't prepare of another type. But anyway, so real quick, back to the resonance thing. Every character has resonance points to use for magic items. Alchemists also need them to use their class abilities.
That's
yeah.
weird.
Later,
Their
I
potions
think
and bombs
around
and stuff.
later, I can't remember. Yeah, they need to spend resonance to make their class resources. And once they're out of their class resources, they don't have cantrips, which are now magic users can just keep using. So they have to resort to weapons, but
Yeah,
they don't have
sword.
the feats to be good at a
Yeah.
a weapon like a martial. So once they're out of their class resources, they're just they're the worst character because they just don't have any benefits outside of that. So at higher levels, they get extra resonance points, but before that happens, like they come across real bad. Also, they have things like smoke bomb, which lets you add a smoke effect to your bombs. It can only be used. Oh, I guess so. At the start of the day, you can spend 1 resonance point to make 2 of an alchemist item in your formula book, like 2 bombs for 1 point. Or you can use quick alchemy, which is 1-to-1, but like as part of your turn in combat or whatever. So it's meant to be in the moment. But you can only add those extra effects to the things you used quick alchemy for, which makes no sense. It's like, why can I not add this effect to the thing I spent more time working on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which means that to have better class abilities, they have to use more
Resources faster.
resonance points.
Yeah.
So
That's
they
just
just
so
seem to
weird.
be
It's
real
weirdly
bad.
designed. I bet they'll get like tinkered with a lot.
yeah, I hope so.
A lot of people like Alchemist.
Yeah, I mean
They're
that's why
fun.
it's all Pathfinder Core and the Alchemist, or Pathfinder First Edition Core classes and the Alchemist in the
Yeah.
playtest. So
People really like
they
them.
were chosen for a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of my favorite classes, and I'm just sad it's so bad.
It's okay.
But I mean, a lot of the other classes seem fine at least. Yeah, you get less spells per day, but again, that's to help bridge the gap. Also, you now have cantrips that you can just use forever. That are good, I should say. Pathfinder had reusable cantrips, but they were awful.
Yeah.
or first edition, because you had like what it was. Acid Splash would do 1d3 of damage.
Hey, that has saved me more than you know. That's how I stole a golden door, by the way. Was I acid splashed the hinges right off and yanked that door with me right into a bag. It was glorious.
Well, now you can do it and not actually do respectable damage at least.
oh well.
A
Even
D6.
I'll be next time I steal a golden door, it'll just be
even
faster.
Right.
Even more melty.
Even more melty.
So yeah, I think the classes will need some more balancing, but
Probably.
that's what the playtest is for, at least.
Yeah.
And then the skills they cut down in like half because there's like
Yeah.
I think there's 26-ish without counting like that's grouping all knowledges as one, and there's like what 8 knowledges or something.
Yeah, there's like
So
8
now
or
there's
9, I
only
think.
14 skills.
Yeah. Another thing similar to 5e.
They did do one weird thing is they split where they sort of combined and then split a thing which is arcane is its own skill
Yeah,
and occultism
Arcana.
is its own skill. Oh yeah, arcana.
Arcana and as you said, occultism.
Which is a little weird, but arcana is more of like the meticulous like studied magic of a wizard perhaps, which is also where use magical device ended up. And then
Yeah,
occultism is like ancient magic, weird prophecies, stuff like that.
Arcana is they
Shamanism
specifically
style.
state that
Yeah.
this skill Arcana this skill measures how much you know about alchemy, arcane spells, and the most common magic items. Further, it determines how much information you have on theories about alchemy and arcane energies, as well as lore about the creatures associated with them.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is. And then occultism right over. Ooh. Find it somewhere here under O. Apparently cannot. Oh, here we go. I found it. No, wait, never mind. I didn't find it. Here we go. I found it. You have a great deal of knowledge about ancient philosophies, esoteric lore, obscure mysticism, and supernatural creatures.
Yep.
That's why is that?
Which also they split the spell lists. Occult spells are for bards and some sorcerers, and then arcana spell list is for wizards and stuff. So
They both can identify magic.
yes.
Occultism, however, can recall knowledge with. Arcana. You can actually read magic with that, as opposed to knowing just a magic or not. But occultism, you can read esoteric.
Sure.
So you can read and understand occult writing is pretty much what it is.
Right. Yeah, so they just kind of split the types of magic, which is a little odd, I
weird,
guess, because
yeah.
they had occult. Pathfinder 2nd Edition added occult magic late in its life,
Ooh, very
Um,
late.
within the last 2 years, I think.
Yeah, I would say it's probably the last. They came out at
About
Gen
2
Con.
years.
It came out at
I
Gen
think.
Con. I remember picking it up, so it was probably around 2-ish years, I think.
Yeah, and like it was treated way differently than this occult style of magic, but maybe it is them just laying the groundwork for the terminology to get people used to it.
I think that's probably the case. It looks like they kind of because there's always been arcane and divine, and that's just generally how
Right.
magic's been spread up. But now it's kind of being broken down into arcane, occultism, and then. So I mean, it's not a bad thing. It's just
No,
No.
it's just a little odd.
Yeah.
I sort of feel like occultism is like I don't know, like
Well, I mean,
to me it screams of divine, but not necessarily with clerics, but more like the druid style divine casting. Like that's kind of occultism. right?
Nature, almost.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's these esoteric.
It's just meant
knowledges
to
that
be,
nobody
or at
knows.
least in this context, I think it's just supposed to be more mysterious and foreign than the
It's
current day
right.
studies of magic.
Because, I mean,
Mysteries.
because bard magic has always been considered arcane, but bards definitely had
Their
bards really
spell-
did have their spell book was very different from other people.
Yeah.
And I mean, to be fair, this actually allows you to understand like occult writing, metaphysical systems, and even like incoherent rambling and whatnot for occultism. So
So
that's
this will
pretty
be
neat.
this will be
This'll-
the type of magic you do if you want to like save the world from Cthulhu.
Yeah, pretty much. Although you might be borrowing it from him too, so it's a really weird really
Warlock.
You may accidentally you prevented Cthulhu from coming through, but you accidentally summoned Haster instead.
Yeah, right. Let them fight.
So they also have been they've incorporated they took it a step further, I think, in incorporating their own lore into the book or whatever, like the Galarian lore.
I would
In
agree,
like
yeah.
with equipment, there's like, and spells, there's common and uncommon. Like a katana is considered uncommon unless you're playing in this part of the world, then it's common, Galarian. Which you can just disregard if you're not playing in those rules. But like a lot of things are like or with spells, there's common and uncommon spells, and it's like you can only choose common spells to start out with or something like that.
It's kind of weird because it's they're building on their world, but it's also taking it away from that very kind of friendly neutralness that I've always enjoyed about it as well.
Yeah, it's a design choice that I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, how I feel about it yet. I guess honestly,
Yeah,
because I've never played in the Pathfinder world like Galarian.
Yeah.
I've never played. I've never
I'm okay
played.
with setting heaviness when you kind of are already prepped for it, but it feels weird for
Yeah,
Pathfinder.
you can just ignore it.
Yeah, you can
Yeah.
always ignore it, so that's the thing. But they have written it now, which does hold a little bit of weight, even if you can't just.
It's
Right.
true.
Oh, there's also up to 10th level spells now instead of 9th.
Yeah,
But
that
I
was a
think you
really
can only
weird
get
thing.
10th level spells at level 20. So, and it's also where they just put the really broken spells like Wish, Gate, Miracle.
You can go. do
There's
some
only
nasty
Time
shit.
Stop,
Yep.
Alter
To
Reality.
be honest,
Yeah.
from a numbers perspective, it always felt weird that there was 9 levels of magic when you went to level 20. Like, I never really understood why they didn't just do 10 levels.
Yeah,
I don't know, from a personal standpoint.
I don't know. They maybe just didn't want.
Because they don't
the
like
numbers.
symmetry.
Yeah,
It's not the classical era anymore, Tets.
Screw your symmetry. We're asymmetrical in this house.
Your face is asymmetrical.
Oh, the other big thing is I forgot about was the degrees of success and failure in the new system with
Oh,
yeah.
criticals.
This
so you
is something
still
I
like
like.
on an attack, you still will crit on a 1 and fail on, or sorry, crit on a 20 and fail on a 1. But there's also the critical success and critical failure of 10
Skills.
over or 10 below.
Huh.
And that so it comes up a lot in spells and then magical items and whatnot. So like Burning Hands, a first level spell, is on success. If someone it does 2d6 fire damage, they have to make a reflex save. If you make your reflex save, you take half damage. If you're critically successful on that, in that you rolled 10 over the DC, you take no damage.
Interesting.
Nice.
And then if you fail, you take full damage, and if you critically fail, you take double damage.
Actually, like.
So it also lets save spells crit for double damage, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed the degree of success. I think that's actually a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
Because it kind of helps. The one thing about 5th edition that I'm not always a big fan about is that if you're still like really high level, lower level creatures, like really low level creatures, can still
Yep.
probably
Yeah,
kick your butt
they
pretty
wanted-
hard.
Yeah, that was part of their design philosophy with bounded accuracy,
Yeah.
which is low level and high level can still interact with each other, which
Yeah.
is not the case in this version.
Which I'm actually kind of a little bit happier for, because there's kind of like
Because-
a point where it's like, why should a level? I understandably, a group of level 1, but I mean, this is fantasy, so why is a group of level 1s even possibly going to hold a candle to the mystical swordsman there who's level 20?
Well,
It's just-
I
mean,
think
that's
it's a
different
bit
strokes for
more. It's like I guess
Because
a
he
realism.
kept rolling
Like,
one.
why can or 100 villagers should be able to take out one person regardless of how strong they are.
That's not true. I have a fireball spell that says otherwise.
It's true. You dropped the right nuke from the right height.
Well,
I was
again,
gonna say.
Okay,
That's a
300.
magic thing. That's the difficulty in trying to balance magic versus martial.
I don't
true.
know.
That's true.
When I got my superior great cleave as a fighter in 3.5, I could keep cleaving as long as I was killing somebody.
But they have to be near each other. If you reach 2 villagers who are 10 feet apart, you're SOL.
Yeah, well, then you're SOL, and those villagers will descend upon you like an angry mob of villagers.
But they're villagers. They're too afraid to be that far away from each other.
Throw your pitchforks.
If they roll the
spinning.
peasants,
But another thing that further emphasizes that in Pathfinder 2nd Edition is proficiency, which is a term that you see in 5th Edition, but they are completely different in design philosophy.
yes.
Because you add proficiency, which is your level, to everything.
Oh.
Which
So
is
level 1 can't hit a level 20 because they get plus 20 to their AC.
which is pretty swanky.
As
I
long
actually
as-
like that
oh.
scaling.
And then even if you're not proficient in something, it's your level -2.
And if you're a legendary with it,
Right,
it's
and then they
plus
have
3.
extra proficiencies like
Expert, master, and legendary.
Yeah, that's what it is. Which add further +2s, I assume. I don't actually
No,
remember.
expert
No?
adds +1, master
it's
adds
1, 2,
+2,
3.
and legendary is 3. Yeah.
Oh,
it's just
okay. So 1, 2, 3. So those are just completely different design philosophies. I'm fine with either, honestly. Like, I guess I don't know. I think I still favor 5th edition though in that sense.
I'd probably end up preferring Pathfinder. I just like the ideas that there's just a point where the character becomes so strong and wave their hand and blow up half a. That's just always funny to me.
I mostly agree with that. At the same time, I have to admit, part of my draw to L5R is the whole don't piss off the villagers because there's a chance that they could beat you despite the fact that you are this skilled samurai.
Yeah. No,
But I guess there's also a narrative power difference between just samurai with some magic and fucking
All it
Gandalf.
takes is a man with a stick to keep rolling it in.
Yeah. I mean,
And-
at the end of the day, I mean, it's gonna be subjective. It's different strokes, different folks,
Yeah.
type of thing. So.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, not at varying levels though, or especially, or I've seen some of the low level because they came out with 4, I think, modules for this, and
Yes,
the
there's
low level
actual
ones
samurai.
I've seen is people report as quite swingy because of the degrees of success. That you can,
yeah.
the tide can get turned real quick.
I
And
will.
I've
I will
seen quite
probably
a few
say.
TPK reports in just the low level 1 stuff.
Jeez.
Yes. Give me my TPKs.
But yeah, they've like a lot of the terminology is there, but if you squint, you can still see the OGL 3.0 license, but it's definitely a different system
Yeah.
because you still roll a d20 or whatever to roll to hit, and then add it up against their AC. But
Yeah. I mean,
the
unfortunately,
stuff involved is different.
the smaller numbers kind of do explain the swinginess to it. If you have smaller numbers, then the big die that you're rolling, which is a 20-sided die, is going to definitely swing stuff around.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of how that's kind of like that. Actually, kind of just reminds me of L5R. Once you get a character who's just really up there, then it's like suddenly you're rolling either 80 or you're rolling 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got that range that you stick to.
Woo! They say it's a common. They say the common difference is 9, but I'm seeing a -20 on this roll. So
If it was 3rd edition, it's like a 50 something to 110. No.
Jesus.
So I'm interested in playtesting it.
Yeah.
To actually
I
form
am
a
too.
more
We,
final opinion. I believe it is
yeah.
our next game.
Yeah, we talked about doing that for the one after the next monthly mod. Too.
I also want to do a test run with my own game group just to get more time on it.
Yeah.
I think it'll very much help. I would recommend anybody who wants to play it definitely look up some videos. There's a lot out there that have people showing like how to go through character creation to kind of help you through. And I would recommend it because going through this book does this. This is a very
it's massive.
It's very massive, and it's actually kind of intimidating because of the layout. Everything's a little bit everywhere.
Right.
So yeah. I gotta say, like, the only thing I really will say and it's gonna go back to the layout here. I'm not a big fan of, and I don't know if this is just because this is just the test version. I don't know if this is like similar to an issue that they had for the first one. I was never part of that one, but I'm not really a big fan of how like kind of spells are laid out in here, as compared to the first edition. Like when you just kind of go through like feats and spells, like it's all just like it's like a box. It's got a quasi board around it, and then it's like another box beneath that.
Yeah, that's I think harkens back to the 4th edition layout.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not a very big fan of that at all. It's like you've got casting, you've got range and area, but then
Trigger,
it's like, oh, but this,
range.
yeah, and then they've got like their
Damage.
tags on it and stuff, and it's all kind of all over it's a little bit sloppy, a little
Healer,
bit messy.
controller,
Yeah.
Striker.
Wild Winds Dance, Evocation, Open, Stance, Casting, Somatic Casting, Duration until you leave the stance. And then, but it's like there's no
wanna
area
dance
effect
in this
on it and
stance.
whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah,
I will say,
don't know.
I will state one thing I have noticed is kind of like from my own perusing through the spells and whatnot. I have noticed that there is a lot more spells that generally don't need all 3 pieces to cast a spell. There's a lot more just somatics. There's a lot more just verbals. I've seen a lot of this where 1.0, I almost feel like it's so common for me to look up a spell and be like, yeah, it needs verbal, somatic, and material.
Yeah, I can't honestly say. I don't play a lot of casting, or at least full casting. Even then, I don't really pay attention because I always like the Magus has like certain special rules and requirements, so it just usually doesn't come up.
Yeah, it doesn't really come from Magus. But Magus is bad. Yeah. I really want to play this game. I really want to try out this play test. I really want to see where it goes.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
I'm very interested.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna become my favorite, but you know, honestly, I think all I want out of the RPG world is just more options for 5th edition, and I'd be really happy. But
I would
always
love
up for
them
playing more.
We need
Like
another
this.
Xanathar's God.
I would just love more Pathfinder 1.0 stuff. I mean, I feel like there's so much more. I love the fact that in Ultimate Wilderness they gave you could be a monster hunter. You can literally go around. They give rules on how to carve pieces from creatures and whatnot.
That's before Ultimate Wilderness.
Oh, I might be thinking about Poison Sacks then, because they actually give you rules on how to do that in Ultimate Wilderness. No, they go over this all in Ultimate Wilderness. They can tell you how like use survival and whatnot to like carve the crap out of things.
Well, sorry, there was a player companion that rules for that is basically.
Oh, okay. Then but potentially might have pulled it from that.
Yeah.
They
Because
have
there
done
was there's an occultist archetype that gets all of its stuff from harvesting parts. Like instead of using old implement items. There's the Monster Hunter's Handbook last year came out. That's what it was.
There you go.
But
Well,
anyway.
Monster Hunter's Handbook. I don't know if that came up before Ultimate Wilderness.
2017 is the tag on it.
Ultimate Wilderness Pathfinder was also 2017. So,
But November.
November. So there you go.
Boom.
Yeah.
All right.
It's
Yeah.
a fun game.
We'll see how fun it is in like a month.
Yeah, right.